Serlene lived in peace with her family, but with the news of being expecting another baby. Petronio, her husband, was not happy with the news.
Woman, we already have 2 children. You know I don't earn very well and expenses will increase. Isn't there a way to interrupt this pregnancy, having an abortion?
Petronio, having an abortion is against God's laws. Since the fertilization, there is already a life developing in my womb. Kill our son. Never. This is a gesture of violence. He trusted us to be reborn. He trusted that he would be welcomed and respected, having the right to exist in a new body.
This is nonsense.
How silly, Petronio. This is even a matter of scientific proof. Breaking this bond of life is a crime. It's making an innocent person die without having any right to defend himself. The spirit may return revolted to the spiritual plane.
You're coming, Serlene, with that spirit thing. Life only appears at the time of birth, when the child cries. I know that a child represents an increase in expenses, and you know that I don't earn that much.
Petronio, it's good that you know that after a short time of fertilization, the spirit connects to the zygote by pre-spiritual ties, therefore interrupting the life of the future baby, prevents the reincarnating person from returning to Earth to progress. My dear, do you remember that my parents said that we can count on them in everything we need? I can also increase the number of private piano lessons. The sacrifice passes quickly and the rewards we will have with our little boy will be great. Time went by. The routine of Petronio's complaints, Serlene's sensible considerations, and the joys and games of the children. Petronio worked in a large factory, located in a neighborhood close to his home, where he worked as a maintenance electrician. One morning, Serlene feels the contractions, and he quickly takes her to the public hospital, and a beautiful baby boy is born. Serlene, after giving birth, takes her son in her arms and discovers that he has a congenital clubfoot. The boy was born with his feet turned inwards. She wraps him in a loving and emotional hug, speaks to him softly. Little son, if God sent you with this limitation, there is a wise reason for this. I will give you all my love, and I will also seek the right medical treatment for you to overcome all difficulties. Petronio, who had been discharged from the company, was in the maternity ward of the hospital and is sought by the pediatrician for a private conversation.
Mr. Petronio, everything went well in the birth of your wife. You are the father of a boy and you will be able to see him through the glass window. But it's good that you understand that your child was born with a small problem, a physical problem.
I didn't understand.
He was born with a congenital clubfoot. 1 in every 1,000 newborns is born with their foot turned inward. Treatment must begin as soon as possible. I'll give you the addresses of hospitals and clinics with the names of orthopedic specialists to help your little boy lead a normal life in the future.
Petronio is shocked and doesn't even want to see his son. He soon returned home, and Serlene needed her family to bring her and her baby from the hospital. From that day on, he avoided dialogue with Serlene, and in the few moments they talked, he blamed her for a defective child. His behavior reflected even at work. He was always in a bad mood, to the point of responding stupidly to the boss, and with that he received a letter of resignation. Petronio is revolted. He arrives home and communicates the event to Serlene in a few words. She does not criticize. On the contrary, she encourages him to look for another opportunity and take advantage of what happened as a learning experience for the future. He avoids dialogue and remains aloof with the whole family, especially with little Jordan. The next day, very early, the man goes looking for a job. He learned from the newspapers that there was an opening for an electrician in the neighboring town. Upon arriving at the location, he finds that unfortunately the vacancy had been filled, but there was another opportunity for services. However, it was in a distant maritime city. And Petronio is traveling for the interview, and to his relief he was hired, but the condition was an immediate departure to work on a ship, for a long trip to replace the vessel's electrician as he had fallen ill. Petronio quickly calls Célia, breaking the news. She was happy that her husband got a new job and congratulated him. However, something told her that from then on she would see little or nothing about the father of her children. After a long work trip, with stops at several ports, Petronio arrives in the city from which he left. He had stepped on the floor, and as he needed to recover from his seclusion, he went to a bar. There he meets a very attractive woman, and in a few days he lives an affair with her, going against the laws of men and the laws of the Creator, practicing adultery. The drink, the environment of bars and nightclubs that he lived, made him suffer constant spiritual influences, moving him further and further away from his family. Obsessive thoughts came and went in her mind.
Célia is guilty of everything that happens to me. I said I didn't want to have any more children, and she gave me a defective child. Now, she has to make do with her parents' help. They always intruded on our married life. Let them be without my presence and without my help.
Petronio unites once and for all with the woman he met at the bar. She worked with parties and night events, which he didn't like. Over time, he felt that between them, there was no love, only physical attraction. They agreed on one thing only. They did not want children. Petronio tried to take refuge in extra work during the days off from boarding, as he had remorse for what he had done to Célia and the children. He had to occupy himself all the time not to think about what he had done. Petronio's life passed without great news. Until one day, he receives a phone call that changes his life. On the other end of the line, a man says,
"Good afternoon. I want to talk to Mr. Petronio."
It's me. You can talk.
"My name is Antenor. I had good recommendations from your electrician service, and I would like you to make an estimate for an electrical inspection in the auditorium of the Cultural House. We have a presentation that will take place next Saturday night, and I heard that the lighting in the place is very precarious."
I'll gladly do it. Give me your phone number and I'll do a site inspection and get back to you.
After the work is completed, Antenor invites Petronio to watch the benefits show. The electrician thanks the invitation and is in an uncontrollable expectation as if something impelled him to go to the event. During the days leading up to the performance, he could hardly sleep because of the anxiety. On Saturday, there he was at the entrance to the auditorium to watch the musical show. Petronio had invited his companion, but she had said that she would be committed to a party she had put on and couldn't go, so he went alone. Upon arriving at the entrance, he was soon welcomed by a pleasant lady who gave him a message in the form of a poem. He thanked her and put it in his jacket pocket. Petronio notes that the event was beneficial to several spiritist centers, and see beside it a table with several books for sale. They are books written by Chico Xavier, through the spirits Emmanuel and André Luis. My God, he thinks.
These books and everything here reminds me of Célia. She is a spiritist, and here are the books she liked the most.
Petronio had a bad conscience because he had been prejudiced in not accepting his third child because he was born with a physical defect that he, together with Serline, and looking for competent doctors, could correct. The show was about to start, and he looks for Antenor and sees that he was sitting in the front row. Petronio sits right behind. Well, the show was about to begin. The auditorium lights go out and the lighting flash is turned towards the stage. To his surprise, Serline, his ex-wife, comes in and sits down at the piano with 3 young people, a girl and 2 boys who perform beautiful songs. He is petrified, as he discovers to his great surprise that there was the family he had abandoned many years ago. And stunned, he thought,
But how? What a coincidence this is. My family here. Serline is as beautiful as ever. And my children are true artists. Jordan walks normally, as if nothing has happened. How can you? And your voice, it's unusually beautiful. Flavino and Sarah, wonderful violinists. How much talent. How I regret ever having abandoned them. Would Serline accept me again? She was always so kind. And I know you'll forgive me. After all, spiritists practice forgiveness a lot. I even think that my current partner will be satisfied with us separating, as we have already discussed this several times.
Throughout the show, he admires his family and formulates several optimistic thoughts as if everything would go back to the way it was before. At the end of the show, the public stands up in applause and Petronio goes to the stage. He takes a flower that was in the hall to decorate the environment and goes with the purpose of portraying himself with Serline, and consequently with the children. He approaches and many people were around congratulating Serline, and she doesn't see him. So, Petronio ends up meeting Antenor and he says,
Petronio, your service was impeccable. I want you to meet my family of artists. Because, after all, you participated in the event with the installation of the light and sound that were so perfect. Jordan, I want to introduce you to the electrician who did the job for us. Yes, Dad, I'm on my way.
Petronius shudders. Jordan had called Antenor father. How absurd. And Antenor continues.
I have an admirable family, Mr. Petronio. My wife Serline and her children that I consider mine. They're fabulous. They are examples for very young people, because in addition to being talented, they have noble feelings.
Jordan arrives and addresses Petronio.
Are you the one who did the sound and lighting service? It was very good. I want to give you a hug and thanks.
Petronio received Jordan's affectionate hug and is very emotional and speechless. Meanwhile, a photographer asks Antenor to gather his family of artists for a photo, and Petronio seizes the moment and walks away under Jordan's affectionate gaze. Without the young man understanding such a feeling that had sprouted for that man, he continues with his gaze directed at him. Petronio walks among the audience, leaving the auditorium with his head down. When arriving at the exit door, he turns back and sees Serline smiling, hugging Antenor, and the other 2 children, Sarah and Flavio, around her. He looks for Jordan and their eyes meet, as if saying something indecipherable, and this makes him even more bitter. The man comes home with heavy regret. The situation gets worse when he doesn't see his mate who hasn't arrived yet. A great void takes your soul. He sits on the couch, and when he takes off his jacket, a piece of paper falls out of his pocket. It was the message from the poem he had received at the entrance to the show. As it were, without sleep, Petronio opens the paper and reads it. The title was The Lost Ring. One day I received a ring. It was beautiful, studded with glitter. I liked it so much, and I smiled when I received it. It was valuable, beautiful. Over time, that ring bothered my hands. Sometimes I took it off, sometimes I put it on. It looked like it was made of bronze. It was ugly, lifeless, dull. And I decided to throw it as far as I could. The years passed, and I felt bare hands. Something was missing. I already know. It was the ring. That ring was my union. That it was over. I ran in search of my ring. I searched, but it was too late. Someone now already involved that rare gem. That one day I couldn't give value. After reading the poem, Petronio cries copiously because the message portrayed his own life, because the ring studded with diamonds represented Serline and her family that, unfortunately, he did not know how to value.